We welcome you to the Reed and Christine Halliday Executive Lecture Series. We're grateful for Reed and Christine's generosity that provides us the opportunity to have a nice lunch and incur the expenses of this lecture series. Today, I'm grateful to welcome my friend Jeff Hunsaker. We really don't like each other, but our kids played ball together. Started playing ball 25 years together, and he's gone on to have a successful life, and I've gone on to a vow of poverty and education. Jeff is the head of Authorize.net, works for Visa Group, and runs global small business sales for Visa. He is responsible for the revenue across business and leads a sales team who manage over 450,000 merchants and financial institutions to identify trends, define critical initiatives for the growth and long-term success for Visa and their partners. Prior to joining Visa, he held senior executive positions such as president, chief operating officer, chief service officer, chief marketing officer, and senior vice president of sales for private equity-backed and publicly traded groups such as WordPerfect, Novell, Corel, SCA Group, and the UK2. You got to be pretty old to know what some of these companies are. Who's Novell and who's WordPerfect, but Jeff is that old. He knows them. Jeff is a strong believer in community, and as evidence of him giving back today, and serves on the board of trustees for nonprofit healthcare systems, currently a member for the past 25 years for a school, leader, athlete, youth foundation sponsored by the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame. Before his business career, he studied and got a BA degree in finance and business administration at the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University, where he also played football. His most important takeaway from there was not his degree, it's his lovely wife, Angie, and together they have 5 children. How many grandchildren? 5 grandchildren, too. Those are the ones he really loves. Welcome Jeff to the stage.
All right, let's see. Get reconnected here. Thank you, Tom. What a guy, huh? He's a good man and a good friend. All right, let's jump right in. AV team, can you hear me okay? I know we've had a few little challenges. We should be good. Well, as mentioned, my name is Jeff Hunsaker, and it's a pleasure to be with you all. Thanks for having me here and for your hospitality. What a beautiful building. Man, Tom gave me a tour. We hiked up to the top and took a view of the vistas. Quite impressive. So, and as Tom mentioned, we've known each other for 20 plus years. Our boys played ball together, and he's a great man. He's impressive, and what he does here at this university and, of course, in the community is stellar. So he's someone that I aspire to be like. So thanks for your example and your friendship over the years. So today, we're going to have a little bit of fun, hopefully. And I'd like to just talk to you about some of the lessons learned throughout my career. I'm not in academia at all. That's not my past. And so I'm not here to give any lectures on, financial planning or business strategy or, the 4 P's of marketing. And by the way, since I work for Visa, for a $50 Visa gift card, can anyone tell me what are the 4 P's of marketing? First hand up. The 4 P, back in the corner. Boom! Well done. Who says your college education doesn't pay off? Come see me after. But I'm not here to talk about those various principles. You have amazing professors that can provide that training for you. So I'm going to talk about some softer skills that hopefully will help your career, but you got to have the financial and the marketing chops, the business chops to kind of make it in the world. And yes, it sure helps to have a business degree and life experiences, but you don't need to have, straight A's and to be the UVU Scholar of the Year in order to get a job that really will propel you moving forward. Okay, so let's begin. Did Shane disappear? And why? Oh, there we are. Excellent. Okay, so there's the crew. This is the family, my wife and I, and the 5 kids and 5 grandkids. When I was your age, sitting in a very similar seat at the Huntsman School of Business at Utah State, I had no clue about what I was going to do. None. I was, perhaps worried and concerned about the future and really wanting to know what's going to happen in my career. And so I realized that this is only going to work through hard work, determination, and really just focus on what I know and what I'm good at, and then it's all going to come to fruition. And so I met my wife, we got married, just graduated from college, we started having children, and I set a path forward. But it was tough, and I was nervous, I was anxious about what the future holds. And so as I look back now after 30 plus years, this is the crown jewel for sure, but I've also enjoyed and loved my career. And but I didn't have it all planned. It was a little bit of luck, frankly, a lot of luck to get me to where I am today. But I had to work pretty dang hard, and I had some really good mentors. And so hopefully I can share a few things today that will help you. Which one's my son, Riley? He is the second from the right there over. He's got this little girl, put his hand on his little girl. That's Riley. He's my 32-year-old. He's a orthodontist right now in Salt Lake. So that was Clint's teammate in the baseball world. I will. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about my career journey. Then I'm going to go through some tips and tricks that might help you, hopefully. As mentioned, I graduated from Utah State Business School. Good luck to my Aggies tonight. It's going to be a rough one, I have a feeling, against the Cougars. But nonetheless, it was a great experience. I loved it. Playing a little football for the Aggies. Met my wife there. She was the cheerleader. I was the football player. Gag. I know it's the sappy story, but hey, it worked. And then I started my career, and basically for the next 8 years, I was with one company, WordPerfect Corporation. We were acquired a couple of times. And I remember to get this job right out of college, I went to all the career fairs, spoke and listened to all the individuals that came in to speak to us. And I had my resume ready and my tie good to go. And I submitted resumes to all of these various companies. And I did as many interviews as I could just to get that experience. And but finally I decided to apply for this company called WordPerfect. And there was 5 openings for their regional sales team, regional sales manager, with about 450 applicants. And you had to submit a resume by video, 5 minutes or less, on why they should hire you. So I did my best, the old VHS tape, put the video together and sent it off and prayed that I would at least get a call back. And they narrowed it down to about 50 of us, and they liked what they saw on video. Then I had to go to this group, and I had to sell something. I had 2 minutes to sell any product or service to this group of very impressive and intimidating leaders at WordPerfect sell a pencil, whatever, it didn't matter. And then I made that cut. They brought it down to 20, and then they started doing interviews with big groups, one-on-one. It was intense, absolutely intense, but man, did I learn a lot. And fortunately, I got one of the 5 offers, and they shipped me to Birmingham, Alabama. I had no choice where we were going to go. So my wife and I, they said, off to Birmingham. I'm like, okay, SEC football, why not? Let's go. And we had the most amazing experience. I loved being away and having that experience working as a regional sales manager. And so, but after several years of selling, which I love, and that's kind of at my core, I got a call from a guy by the name of Devin Durant. Some of you know who he is. You might have heard of that name. He was an all-time great at BYU basketball player, and he was working for the company. And he says, Jeff, do you want to come into marketing? Like, well, I don't know a lot about marketing other than product, price, promotion, place. And but let's do it. And he says, this is a great career opportunity for you to be the first product manager for WordPerfect for Windows. It was a DOS world back then. You've heard of Windows now. That was at the beginning stages. And long story short, that set my career on a new trajectory because of this mentor, this individual who helped me out. Several years later, I hired a gentleman by the name of Roy Banks. Some of you might have heard Roy's lecture here last year, one of the greatest business minds in this state and in this valley. Great guy, and he came from tech support, I believe, or engineering, and I hired him as a product manager, and he's been a 5-time CEO. And so we help each other out. We pull each other along in this journey. And I had some really cool experiences, but it's not all, rainbows and unicorns. I've had plenty of like, oh man, this is not good. This is rough. I loved my 2 years at Bond. We had a sales job, and it was, just trying to make some money, and a great experience for a company based out of Holland. And then I joined from a previous contact at Novell, this company called Santa Cruz Operations, or Caldera. It was Unix and Linux for business. I spent basically 9 years there. And once again, through connections. I started as VP of sales, and I left being the president and chief operating officer of the business, and we were publicly traded. But we had some highs, and then we had some lows. Lawsuits, litigation, some bankruptcy filings. It was intense. And so I'm not here to tell you it's just all perfect, because I lived it all. But boy, did I learn from those missteps that we made as a company, or chose to approach a certain way to run the business. It was challenging, and so it was rough. But I left there, spent the next 6 years working for a company based in London, just an individual, a web hosting business, and they called me. It was privately owned, and this gentleman, a Danish guy named Detlef, he called me and said, through the recruiters, I got all these companies in the US, it's a mess, can you come clean it up and run this for us? I didn't know anything about web hosting, but I knew how to run businesses. And so we consolidated, and his objective was to sell the company in a couple years, which we did. We sold to a private equity firm based in London, Lloyd's Banking Group, Lloyd's Development Capital. You heard of Lloyd's of London. So I spent the next 4 years of my life working for private equity and going back and forth to London 4 times a year. And what an experience that was. Once again, some highs and some lows, but grinding, just grit, and coming out of this, I think in pretty good place. I love that experience. But throughout all this, and especially now as I'm with Visa, when I got the call from a recruiter, and I kind of just knew when it was time. But foundationally, it was all about making sure I'm working with people that I enjoy and that I love. And I'm going to talk about that right now. So here, for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to give you 10 tips. We probably won't get through the 10. We'll probably get through 3 or 5 or 7. I don't know. In fact, they say most people can only remember, 3 or 5 points, sometimes 7, like the number 7. That's why phone numbers have 7 digits. Okay, for another Visa $50 gift card, what's the most famous phone number? I'll give you a hint. Finish it for me. Boom, 8675309. Everyone knows that, right? Tommy Two-Tone, right? That's back in my day. And so we can remember 7 things. We'll probably get through 7 principles. Come see me after. I got to get you hooked up on a card as well. So let's talk about some of these lessons learned. Number 1, find your purpose. You got to find what brings you happiness in life. And in fact, there's one of the great leaders out there, financial leaders, is Warren Buffett. Many of you are familiar with this wise man. And he said, happiness comes down to 4 words. For another $50 Visa gift card, I gave someone a hint. Raise your hand. What are those 4 words right here?
Do what you love.
Do what you love. Okay, come see me after as well. Is it okay to money for college students? I guess it's all right, right? It's not like illegal or recruiting or something, but yeah. So you do what you love, and that's what he talks about. And I won't read a quote I have for you, but he said when he was asked the question, if you could make $10 million or $10,000 working for someone that you love and people that you love, or making all this money but being miserable every day, having a boss, a manager, he or she that just creates this anxiety, what would you prefer? He says, it's a no-brainer. He says, you do what you love with people that you enjoy working with and respect, and the money will come. Don't focus on the money. It will be there. You're going to spend the next 30, 40 years of your career working with people, engaging with leaders and employees. I spend sometimes over the years more time with my colleagues than I do with my own children and families, with travels and just the requirements there. So I have to make sure I find good balance, work-life, and that's so key. So find what comes natural and easy for you, what you're very comfortable with doing. And then several years ago at Visa, I was on a call with an agent who represented a social media influencer who had over 100 million followers. We were talking a business transaction, and this agent asked me, she says, Jeff, with other Visa leaders on the phone, by the way, what is your genius? And I said, what? What do you mean by that? Well, what is your genius? What is something that you're exceptionally good at? And I thought about that for a minute. It hit me pretty hard. And I gave my response. No need to tell you what I said at the time, but I guess I'll ask all of you that question. What is your genius? What is that one thing that you're really good at, that you understand, that you can connect? And whatever that is, that's something you probably love and enjoy. Pursue that. Maybe it's business strategy. Maybe it's accounting. Maybe it's sports marketing. Maybe it's real estate. You love dirt. You love to build, construction. I don't care, but find something that you're somewhat good at, that you know and others have told you, hey, man, you should do this. You're awesome at that. I would pursue something along those lines because you're going to do it for a long time. And then surround yourself with winners and then lean in. I can't stand when people sit in meetings and they're always just flop back. I like people who lean into conversations, into ideas, into expression, and just really kind of go wholeheartedly, put their arms around an initiative and go. All right, number 2, achieve likability. This is kind of weird, right? Doesn't everyone want to be liked? But is this really one of the things that I've learned through my career? It is. People buy from people they like. We go look for a car, my wife and I, just a couple years ago, and music was blaring, and it was this lot, and all these sales reps came up just trying to swarm her, and we were out of there in 3 minutes. I love it. I love salespeople. I love when they come up and they're just selling me hard. I love when someone knocks on my door, whether they're selling a religion or solar panels or pest control. I cannot wait for that person to knock my door because I talk to them, I engage with them, I respect what they're doing, and I'll sit and say, okay, can I give you some advice? And then I start say, here's why I won't buy from you because of this approach. Now, if you would have tried this, then you would have engaged with me a little bit more. And then I would be more interested to listen to you. And so I'm kind of weird like that, but I love the conversations. I love when I get phone calls from, I'm that guy. I like to talk to him on the other phone. And then I'll say, hey, by the way, I know exactly what you're doing. You're a business development rep, right? And you got a quota. So what's your quota? And I start just talking to them and we, share advice with my, the caller that's trying to sell me something. But that's how my mind works. And that's what I'm good at. And so, but you've got to find the ability to be likable or people just won't buy from you. And that comes through humility, through transparency. At Visa, and especially at Authorized.net, I'm kind of known as the fixer. If there's big issues, if there's big challenges with clients that are upset within the Authorized.net business, they bring in Jeff to kind of solve the issue. And I get on the phone with the clients and we just try to make any connection I can. They're screaming, they're upset, we've done something wrong. My first approach is say, you're right, we messed up. We completely botched this and I apologize. I take ownership for this. We're gonna get this right. Here's my cell phone. I'm your executive sponsor. You call me 24/7. I will not stop until we get this thing solved for you because we messed up. I'll say that exactly like that, and assuming we did. Now, if we didn't, I defend my teams and our company. But when we mess up, you do something wrong, you got to own it. Be transparent, and people appreciate that. The Marketing Rebellion, a book, the most human company wins. And you see here, I like the people who made the soap better than the product itself. That's a statement from that book, that people really buy from people they like more so than even the products. All right, number 3, create a winning culture. Winning team, losing team, winning team, losing team. We've all heard that phrase. I'm afraid that's going to go on tonight at the game, that I just hope that my Aggies can give them a game and pull out something extraordinary. We'll see. But you want, success breeds success. You want to be surrounded with people that you enjoy, that lift you up, that inspire you, that don't tear you down. Never work in a culture that is a lot of backbiting. There's just this feel. You can sense it. I walked into a company years ago, and you heard of Lord of the Flies. These young boys on an island, and they were trying to self-govern themselves, and it went haywire. I walked into a sales organization that seemed a little bit like that many years ago. And I'm like, okay, this is toxic. We've got to fix this. And sometimes it requires drastic moves as leadership to weed out the toxic environment, individuals if need be, and you start rebuilding culture and creativity and honesty and transparency and fun. Work hard, play hard, have fun. When you can focus on that, you build culture, but you need everyone in from top down, bottom up. And so I do a lot of, walkabouts, the office. I'm just that guy. I walk around, doors always open, call people by name, and create, hopefully, an environment that people want to work for. Because the number one reason why people quit, why? It's because their boss, their manager, they can't stand them. I'm out of here. And life's too short to work for crappy bosses. I'll put it like that. All right, number 4. How are we doing at time, Tom? We doing all right?
Yeah.
Good.
15 minutes before I take 10 minutes.
Oh, so I'm doing great. I got a couple fun stories for you. Number 4, be curious. This is pretty obvious. Just ask questions. I was that person that generally sat near the back of the room in my lectures and my classes, but I was always the one that was asking the awkward question because I don't have a huge ego. Well, perhaps I do, but I didn't care if it sounded kind of stupid. If I didn't understand something, I assumed that there were probably a few other people in the room that didn't understand as well. So I was willing to put myself out there and say, hey, I might be the only one, but I don't get it. Can you explain that to me? And just ask further questions and get clarifying input. And so be curious about things. Don't hear all these acronyms and then just, I have no idea what those are. Ask the question, oh, what did that mean? What does this mean? And people are happy to share their knowledge. They want to help mentor and train. So when you ask questions and you're curious, you'll have many people lining up to show you how much they know. And then you start building that repository of knowledge and finding mentors that really can make a difference, that can lead you along. I've tried to do that myself, and I've had several throughout my career that have been just fantastic. I could name 10 right now that I just want to put my arms around them and thank them for changing my life and my career because they made a huge difference in this big guy's ability to advance because I listened and asked questions. And then you kind of grow and learn. All right, number 5, The Art of Enchantment. Who's ever read the book called The Art of Enchantment by Guy Kawasaki? It's old school. Tom, well done. This is, Guy Kawasaki was the first product manager for Apple computers way back in the day. And I saw him speak live at a conference many years ago, and I went up to him after, shook his hand, I was impressed, and he just gave me some great advice. I bought his book, read it, and this is one of the principles, is the art of managing upward and downward, this art of enchantment. In business, you're always gonna have someone above you. Even if you're the CEO, you're gonna have a board of directors. Whether you're just starting from ground level, you're gonna have a manager. And so you always have to manage up and manage down once you become in a management position. And so there's an art and science to both. I spent most of my career has been in management now, and so I'm always managing upward. When there's something that my boss needs, he or she, I drop everything and I try to solve for that issue. That's my priority. I will prototype fast. Say, hey, can you give me some thoughts and ideas on this? How do we expand our business in the CEMEA region? And then I'll put together maybe 2 very rough PowerPoint slides. So here's some initial thoughts. Oh, wow, that was nice. Well, give me some feedback and then have he or she help me kind of build this strategy together. And then if there's any bad news, we just lost this massive account or we had an outage or whatever it was, don't sit on it. That is the worst mistake you can do or make, is to sit on bad news. You need to deliver that soon and just be transparent, just get it out there. And then, managing downward, it's just through leadership, it's through love. I believe in kindness. If you're mean and mean-spirited, you would never work in my organization. I would never work for you. I would never hire mean people. And you might be a great salesperson, but if you're crass and you're mean and it's just I have no room for that. And so I try to lead through kindness and love, and then never do anything that I wouldn't, never ask someone to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. Okay, number 6, speak up. I like this one because I can't tell you how many meetings I attend where I'm in a large conference room. Maybe there's 15 or 20 of us from sales and marketing and product management and commercial operations and teams, and we're strategizing about a certain plan. And I figure who's ever in that room and has a seat at the table should have a voice. And if we go for 2 hours back and forth and there's 6 people of the 20 that are just doing all the talking, and I walk out of that room and I'm asking my teams, why was he or she in this room? I never heard one word. What are they doing? Do they not have a point of view? And so I kind of lose interest, candidly, in people that just sit on their hands and aren't willing to speak up. And I don't care if it's wrong. I just love opinions. And I try to create a safe place, a trusted environment where you can say something stupid. That's okay. But at least you're putting it out there and you're having a point of view and taking a few risks, because you never know how that idea might land. You're gonna come up with 30 bad ideas, but you're gonna get that one and it's gonna change your career. So speak up, become a subject matter expert, and silence truly can be a killer in your career. And I know for some of you in this room, it's very hard. It's just not natural. It's not part of your DNA just to throw it out there. And I get that. And so you have to kind of learn a little bit and just give it a go. And just trust people around you to kind of help you out. And maybe ask others, hey, what do you think? This is a stupid idea? Can I throw it out there? Then go. All right. Okay, quick story. So years and years ago, here's an example of what happened to me because I spoke up. I was working for WordPerfect, and it was actually Corel Corporation. I was running their product applications division. And I knew Governor Levitt was taking a delegation of Utah business leaders to Beijing, to China, for a 2-week kind of this tour showcasing Utah companies. And I was talking to myself and this gentleman named Craig Bushman, and what could we do to get on that trip? I want to have that experience. And what could we offer that would make a difference? And so we went to our CEO and we said, hey, we want to go and just change the world in China. And we want to donate our software, our word processing suite of solutions, to the Chinese university students for a 2-year agreement free. They just use it. We give it to them. It's worth millions of dollars. He loved it. So we called the governor. We pitched our idea. And I was just this lowly guy. I wasn't nothing special. But I spoke up. I went for it. And they said, boom, let's go. And so we spent 2 weeks, myself and Craig, with the governor and this entourage of business leaders. And we kind of became the hallmark moment because we were doing the donation. Some of you are familiar with Tiananmen Square, and you heard of the Great Hall of the People, where the presidents and dignitaries meet. That's where this ceremony was. I walked in there as this fairly young guy, not knowing a whole lot, but I was so excited because I knew we were going to make this huge donation. But it was in this venue, and these banners everywhere, and a huge table. And then here comes the vice premier of China, like basically number 2 in command of China, and all this pomp and circumstance, and it was insane. And I'm like, holy smokes, and I got to get up and speak with a translator. I had like 2 minutes. And I said my little speech, and it was all translated. We sit down, have this huge book. We signed this big quill pens, and we signed, and he signed, and we passed it back and forth, and we did the handshake, and I was like, woohoo! I was so happy. It was so fun for me. And I thought, did that really just happen? Because I just spoke up. And I remember being in my hotel room that night talking to my wife. I said, Ange, the craziest thing happened to me. I have no idea how I even got here, but this is what I was doing. I was watching the news, and I was telling her what happened. And I says, and I'm watching it right now with 1.4 billion Chinese people. It's on the news showing this donation. And it was just, I hate the word surreal is overused, but it truly was for me. And just because I decided to go for it and speak up. Number 7, they say in real estate, what is it? Location. Tom, you don't get $50. You don't need $50. In business, it's all about communication. And believe it or not, sometimes presentation skills do matter. And you have to learn that. It's not easy. It's hard. And I've done this my whole career. And I have to do this all the time. And sometimes for me, it's like, oh man, it's hard. It can be nerve-wracking, but it's all about the preparation. And so it's something that can be learned, how to communicate, written, verbal, or presenting. And I used to drive around as a sales rep in Birmingham, Alabama, and I covered the whole state. And I'd get in my 1991 Ford Taurus with my, cell phone. That was those old car phones. And I'd think I was the coolest guy. I picked that thing up, about $500 a month for that bad boy. And I would drive around, get a big old tub of KFC chicken and some pork rinds and a big Mountain Dew. And I'd go from Huntsville to Mobile, pitching and selling WordPerfect software. Life was good. And I would listen the whole time to these audio tapes, like self-help, like how to be a good presenter or how to influence people and blah, blah, blah. And I did years of that. I spent 4 years just driving and stopping, and then I would be, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to try this on my next sales call. And hey, it worked. And I have some great friends. I went back to Birmingham to watch my Aggies get hammered by Roll Tide just a couple weeks ago. But I have some great dear friends in business that I still speak to. I could tell you some fun stories, but I got to keep going. But that is something that you can learn and you can take some time. So evangelism opens doors. And I told you that Devin Durant guy, he called me back to be the product manager. And so I was the demo guy. And so I would start presenting and showing the company and others, the press, what our products can do. And so I started learning this routine and timing and so forth. And when we were selling to Novell, they brought me in as the product manager to pitch to the executives of Novell to show our products. So they had enough trust in me to show our flagship product to these executives. Hunsaker, don't screw it up. And I would go in there like fired up and it was great. I did the same thing when Corel bought us. They brought me in to show off the executives, and then they started flying me around. I went with Bruce Bastian, one of the founders of WordPerfect. We flew to Europe, my first time in Europe, in Amsterdam, and we went all through the country just presenting our stuff. And I was kind of the trained rep to get up on stage and just present to all these companies. And I loved it. It was a great experience for me. The one that you'll enjoy is on stage with Bill. Bill Gates, that is. And we used to do these, they were called WordPerfect shootouts, WordPerfect and Microsoft shootouts. We would go into a city to city, Cincinnati to Toledo to, New Jersey, wherever, city, countries, or states. And we would have about 1,000 people in these huge halls. And this is back like the Coke Pepsi Challenge. We had the WordPerfect Word Challenge. And the Microsoft rep, and I knew the product managers from Microsoft quite well because we were on this circuit. And she would present 45 minutes to an hour, show off their products and services. Then we would do the same. I would run the keyboard and talk, and we would throw out M&Ms. And then the audience would vote, and then it would be published. The winner is, and we never lost. Every city we went to, we won. The customers preferred our solution. So they brought in the big guns. And I remember the time showing up in Boston, I think it was Boston or Chicago, and I get ready to go up on stage, and I see Bill Gates. And he's there with their product manager, my friend, who I was always going head-to-head with. And she says, Jeff, we brought in the big guns. And so he got on stage and did the pitch. And he presented, and then it's like, okay, Hunsaker, you're up. And could you imagine? But I loved it. And long story short, we nailed it. We had a good day, and we won the bake-off. They still selected our products and services with that group. And I always, at the end, I would do something kind of crazy. Well, I did, especially this time. And I would ask people, who here would like a free copy of WordPerfect for Windows? And everybody would go, yeah. And then, because we had a drawing, I says, who really needs a copy of WordPerfect for Windows? Yeah, I do. And I'd draw it out. I say, okay, and the winner is Bill Gates. And the place went crazy. Like, did he just do that? Because he's standing right up in the corner. And I said, oh, I'm just having fun. And we had a good laugh over that. It was hilarious. A little bold, but he came up to me after, shook my hand, squeezed it pretty tight, I might add, and just had a nice exchange. And I don't need to tell you what he said, but it was great. It was great. And one of those kind of fun moments, because I was given the opportunity and I just took it. And so just don't be afraid to kind of go for it. So yeah, I get to do a lot of this kind of stuff on various occasions. I got a few minutes left.
Yep.
Woo. Okay. Okay, we're doing great. So a couple more points. We probably will get through. I thought we'd get through the Tommy Two-Tone top 7, but it looks like we're going to hit the other 2. Have a presence. Okay? Maybe I'll slow down a little bit. I was just trying to make sure we get through. Change my pace, maybe walk around a little bit more. Those are part of those presentation things that you get trained on. And look at your audience over here, you look at them here, you look at them there. It's all these things you just need to listen to and learn from. It makes a difference. So when I say talk about have a presence, I sit in these calibration sessions. Every year at Visa, we calibrate our employees, meaning, and I'm calibrated, is Hunsaker, does he need strengthening? Is he strong or is he outstanding? We have these 3 levels on the what he or she does and how they do it. And then so as a leadership team, and we grade all of our teams, and it just kind of rolls up and cascades up. And then we get together with your peers, whatever level you're at, and then we calibrate and we defend our ratings for our employees. And a lot of this is predicated on compensation and year-end bonuses, and for those that are on those types of plans. And sales, they're on commission SIP-based plans. But I remember being in several of these meetings, and I'm just evangelizing and talking about one of my employees, and he or she is fantastic. And then I'll have people stand up that are my peers and say, I have no idea who you're even talking to. I've never had any exchange with them. I've never heard them speak up. They have no presence. So how do I, support you in this rating? And so I'll go back and with my one-on-ones and say, okay, we got to build your brand. These people don't know who you are, and I can only help you so much. And so I'll give them some real advice. You've got to start reaching out and have skip-level interviews and, ask for some mentoring sessions. Build your brand. Have a presence in your organization that will help you, allow others to help you. And, the obvious. Look people in the eye, shake their hands firmly. It's true. It's just so obvious. But, and then how you carry yourself matters. So make sure you focus on those items. 2 last points here. Be self-aware. I think it's so important that we talked about earlier that you understand your strengths and you know your weaknesses. I have a lot more weaknesses than I have strengths. I really do. I am so not good at many things. And I could name several. Like, when it comes to like pure strategy and visionary and futuristic, big thinking, big planning, that's not me. I'm an operations guy. I get things done. And we have this thing called Strength Finders. And some of you might have heard of this. There's 33 different strengths. You take this long course and quiz, and it spits out all of your strengths. I say even your 35th or whatever is not a weakness. It's just not your biggest strength. And so these are the ones that came out for me. Whether it's good or bad, it's just kind of who I am. Positivity, communications, this thing called woo, whatever that is, an achiever, an arranger, and then it kind of goes on my top 10. But some of my peers, when I see their readouts and it's like futuristic, strategy and entrepreneurship, and I'm like, I want to be like them. How come I'm not like that? And man, I got to learn to be like that. And I've realized over my career, I got to be self-aware. I know what I'm good at, and that's the horse I'm riding. And it's worked for me. So don't fit a square peg in a round hole. Go with what you're good at and learn these other skills, learn from others, but study your strengths and weaknesses and be transparent about them. Don't pretend to be something you're not. All right, and everyone needs a real truth teller, someone that tells you you've got broccoli in your teeth. You know who I'm talking about? So mine for my career is Liz Tanner, and I love Liz. 10 minutes, thank you, Tom. So Liz was our PR specialist at one of the companies I worked for years ago, and she and I and Dave Lefevre, the product manager, would travel around Boston and San Francisco and meet with her and do press tours. And he and I would kind of tag team. She would make all the arrangements. And I can't tell you how many times. She says, Jeff, you did a nice job today. Thank you very much. But anyways is not a word. Quit saying anyways, it's anyway. She says, you sound like you're this kid from Logan, Utah that grew up. You got to just speak a little bit more clearly and not have this, She was like calling me out. And she said another time, she said, did you just have lunch? What did you just eat? Oh, I told her, well, your breath smells. It smells like onions. You got to sit back from It was like that every time we were together when needed. And I love her to death. And she made me not self-conscious, but self-aware. And I'm like, I loved her for that. The fact that she would tell me that, hey, she's trying to help me. And so everyone needs a truth teller in your life to kind of help you out and to kind of make a difference for you. So that's someone that you should always look to and try to find someone that can bring that value in your life. Okay, and then surround yourself with others to offset your weaknesses. And that's what I do. You look at my leadership team. I know what I'm good at and what I can do for this business, but I need X, Y, and Z on my team in order to round out this strong leadership team. And I look for that type of talent. And diversity matters, okay? This could have been my 11 or 12, diversity and inclusion. Studies have shown companies that have a diverse, underrepresented minority, leadership teams and have good balance in terms of those categories proven to be much more successful, and the results are outstanding. And so we should always look to hire people that perhaps don't look exactly like you, and because you can learn from their experiences and their backgrounds. And so diversity and inclusion in any company, especially as a leader, is absolutely key. Okay, my last item here is your career is a marathon, not a sprint. So this is pretty simple. It's, like I say, I sat here 30 years ago at the Huntsman School of Business, listening to individuals like me, and I think I told you from the outset, don't try to compare what someone has accomplished after 30 years where you are right now. I think I used the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy, correct? Did I say that? I don't know if I did or not, but think about that. Comparison is a thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to others because it's a long journey. So it's gonna take time to find out your identity, your path, and then it's gonna come to you. I see so many young college grads that are hopping from one company to the next. That in this Google instantaneous world, or Google or McDonald's, it's all 1 minute to nanoseconds, and we want it now. I'm that guy a little bit at times. But in terms of your career, let it unfold. Let it take some time. Be patiently aggressive, but don't be jumping from company to company like Warren Buffett counseled us from the outset, just to get another $5,000 a year or $10,000 a year. I started, my first job was like $31,000 a year, and I thought I was the richest man on earth. I mean, it was huge. I was like high-fiving my wife. We're set. If I could ever make $50,000 a year, I would be like amazing. And so, and over time, things just have come, and I'm like, okay, I can still even make more money, and I keep working hard, and I keep trying to prove myself, and then opportunities will come my way, and then I'll be very considerate of my next career move instead of just jumping. You see, I really only worked for and I spent 8 years at one company, 2 years at one, 9 years at another, 6 years at another, and now I'm 7 years at Visa, and I hope to finish my career here. I just worry that so many of this younger generation, they just like my son. He just graduated from college, and now he's got a great job as a product manager with Adobe, and I think he's gonna really flourish there. And I counsel him, just let it go. And you could spend the next 5-10 years there and learn so much. And then if you want to make a move, give it a shot. So be patiently aggressive. And this quiet quitting, you're familiar with that term? Some of you? Yeah, where basically it's, the great resignation. Now it's this quiet quitting where certain employees are just doing the bare minimum. They're not going to do any more than they're asked. They're just going to check the box, fill their hours and do their assignment and be mediocre. But they're not gonna do any, unless someone's gonna reward them for stepping outside the box and doing a little bit more, they have no interest in that. Guys like me will probably fire people like that, to be honest. I have no room for people that are striving for mediocrity. It makes no sense to me. I just can't even wrap my head. Tom and I are so old school, I know it. And so you can laugh at us and say, you guys just don't get it. You're probably right, I don't get it, and I never will. You have to always achieve the highest potential that you can go for, and striving for just average, because you don't wanna, support the man, so to speak, the big business I'm not gonna do, because they're just getting rich and I'm just making this. If you have that philosophy, you're gonna settle your whole life and you're gonna be very mediocre in all that you do. So take risks, put it out there, go above and beyond, and the rewards will come. The cream rises. And so that's what you need to achieve. That's what you should focus on. And great things will come your way. I'm certain of it. So there you go. We got through our top 10.
You got time for a couple questions?
All right, let's do it.
Fire some questions.
Bring it on, and thank you for your time. Yes.
You say deliver bad news early.
Yeah.
When you are delivering bad news to your clients as opposed to your superiors or even coworkers, what considerations do you take? Because saying everything is bad all the time to your clients sounds bad every time something bad happens.
Yeah. It's really, it's a little bit of a, you gotta finesse it, but I always defer to transparency. If we really got something wrong and we messed up, I will let them know. And now if this continues over and over and over, then we got a problem here and we shouldn't be in business. But if there's issues that come up that's bad news, I will deliver that, I will be transparent, and then we will work to fix it, and then we come back when we do, and that's the transformation, that's that beauty when I get that phone call, I get that email, I get that text message that says, hey, thank you, your team's amazing, we've got this sorted, but if it happens again, we just work through it. So I just still default to transparency and honesty in all cases. Yes? Question, yes?
So you talked a lot about like these major presentations, especially the one in China with Word Perfect. How do you overcome like the nervousness that comes from that? Because those are pretty big things, and they don't always happen to everybody.
No.
And it's just like the butterflies. I feel like they can really affect you. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, you just get up and do it. Because this is, yeah, the question is, how do you overcome standing in front of a group like this, and speaking, and that nervousness, being asked to, speak on a Sunday morning or whatever it may be, how do you overcome that? And sometimes you never will. Sometimes it's just gonna be there. And even I do this a lot. Even coming today, my wife says, hey, are you nervous? I said, no, I kind of enjoy these conversations, but there's still that energy. There's still that little bit of anxiety because there's always the technology glitches. There's always things I worry about and that you can't control. But sometimes I would say you just practice. You get up in front of your mirror. I can't tell you how many times throughout my life, starting as a young career, I would look in the mirror and I would give a talk and I would speak on my presentation. Before I set my 5-minute video into Word Perfect, I spent probably 5 hours in front of a mirror delivering that. I nailed that. I had it down. I memorized everything. And my dad and mom used to teach me all these little lessons as a kid. And so I practiced so much. And then you just got to get up. Get on that stage, you stand up and just start talking. And realize that people are cheering for you. Everyone here in this room wants anyone up on stage to do well, right? You're not hoping that this big guy just makes a fool of himself. You're like, oh, then it gets really awkward, right? Well, it kind of would be, yeah.
You want to trip off the stage?
Yeah. But just get up and go for it, and people will cheer you on. I got one more second. Yep. So I tried out for my high school musical. I can't sing worth a lick. But my buddy Johnny Worley told me, said, hey, your potential girlfriend is the lead in the musical. You should try out. I said, I can't sing. I'm playing football, and I'm doing all these other things. It's Damn Yankees. And, I learned this song actually from South Pacific. I can't remember what the song was. But anyway, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for it because I want to hang out with all these people and I want to hang out with this girl to see if she'll ever like me. And so I wrote the words on my hand and I show up and I get up on stage and all these theater people are there. Mrs. Mortensen's at the piano. She says, Jeff, are you ready? And I look at it and everybody's like, when they see me come on stage and they're like, what's he doing there? And everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a train wreck. They can't wait for this. And I started singing. And I can carry a tune, but not great, but I just went for it. And then I forgot the words. So I looked down at my hand and I was so sweaty that the words were gone. And I stood there and the music was playing. All of a sudden, someone in the back started singing the words. Da 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 da. I can't even think of the song. And I said, what don't we got? We ain't got, whatever it was. And they started singing. And then I said, oh yeah. And then I started singing. And before long, everyone in the crowd was singing to support me. I don't know why I get emotional, but it changed my ability to have some confidence because I figured they loved me. They thought, Hunsaker's gonna try this, and I put myself out there. I failed miserably, but they helped me out, and we did it together, and I made the musical. I never got the kiss, but I made the musical and it changed my life. So thank you.